Hello, this is Olivia Troy from GForge, and today I will be talking to you about Git integration for source code management in GForge. GForge offers several options for SCM integration. For this video, we are going to focus on Git. Let's start at the top and discuss the control options that site admins have. Site admins can decide if project admins will have the ability to select the access type for each individual project. So to understand this a little better, let's take a look at a couple of possible scenarios. So in this first scenario, let's say that we want to allow project admins to change the SCM access protocol, and we want it to be set to SSH by default. So first we need to set the config allow changes SCM access to true. Setting this to true allows the project admins to change the access type. Then we need to set the config use SSH value to true as well. Setting this to true selects SSH by default. In the second scenario, let's say that we want to enforce HTTP access only for all projects, and we do not want project admins to be able to change this. So we need to set the allow changes SCM access value to false. This will prevent project admins from changing between SSH and HTTP. We also will need to set the use SSH value to false as well. Setting this value to false will select HTTP for all projects. Using the settings of these two values, you can get any combination of the two scenarios that we went through. Using the allow changes SCM access value to decide if project admins can choose the access type or not, and using the use SSH value to decide if the access type is set to SSH or HTTP. You can pause the video here to get the names of the values that you need to set, as well as their corresponding file locations at the bottom of the screen. So for example, in this project on the Git admin page, there aren't radio buttons that allow this project admin to select the access type. So to do that, the site admin must go into the scm.config file that I showed in the earlier slide. So from within the SCM directory, I am going to edit the scm.config file. As you can see here, the config allow changes SCM access value is set to false. I'm going to change it to true so that project admins have the ability to select the access type for the project. Now that I have saved this file, I'm going to go into the SCM Git.config file and select HTTP to be the default access type. Now that I am in the SCM Git directory, I'm going to edit the SCM Git.config file. The third item down is the config use SSH value. Here it is set to false, so when the config use SSH value is set to false, HTTP is automatically selected. If I were to change this to true, then SSH would be selected by default. After caching, I'm going to go and reload my browser. And now the access type radio buttons have appeared and HTTP is automatically selected. Now project admins have the ability to select the access type that they want for each project. As a project admin, if you go to the Admin subtab in the Project menu, you can select which source code management you want. So here I've chosen Git, and when you change your selection here, click Submit to save that change. Also, if you go to Edit Roles, you can edit roles to allow specific access to certain users. So for this example, I'm going to use a senior developer and edit their role. And as you can see in the source code management section, you can select read or write or allow no access to any users in this role. As a project admin, you also have access to the admin tab. From here, you can choose the access type, as I mentioned before. Project admins can also require that users use tracker item IDs in the message of their commits. This will link commits to tracker items. To connect a commit to a tracker item within the commit message, in square brackets, do pound and then the tracker item ID number. Then close the bracket and add any other message. After the commit has been pushed, you can view this connection to the tracker item by going to the tracker item, and within the commit tab of that tracker item, you can see any commits that have been connected to it. In the message log, you can see where I attached the commit to the tracker item. Users that have access to Git can see the Git tab in the project menu and can go to the Access Info page to see the clone command to type into Git. This will be specific to each project. As you can see here, it has the test project name at the end of this command, specifying that it's for this project. Users can also browse through the commits on the Browse Commits page. There's a filter at the top if you're looking for something specific. Each commit will have an ID number assigned to it. It will have the date and time that the commit was made. It will also have any messages that you put in the commit and who it was committed by. From the main Git tab, you can view the short log of recent commits, as well as viewing logs, a list of all commits, or commit diff, which will show you the changes that were made, the difference between commits. Another powerful feature that you might know from our workflow video is that you can transition tracker items between statuses directly from a commit message. Keep in mind that before you can do this, you need to set up workflow and include an alias for each status. You can set up workflow within the admin tab of the tracker section. For more information on this, take a look at our implementing workflow video on the GForge YouTube channel. So as you can see in this commit message, I specified a tracker item ID number, but I can also add in an alias for the status that I want to change this tracker item to. So when you do a commit in the message, after specifying the tracker item within the square brackets, add a comma and then the alias of the status that you want to move the tracker item to. Close the square brackets and add any other message. I'm using FTR, which is an alias of my fixed test for release status within my project. So after committing this and pushing it, this tracker item 12 will be moved from whatever status it was in to the fixed test for release status. And this commit will also be attached to the tracker item as I showed earlier. So as you can see on the Git page, it still displays the message, and you can see that I added in the status change. Now if we go to the tracker item, you can see here that the status is fixed test for release. From within the tracker item, as before, in the commits tab, you can see that a commit has been attached to this tracker item. So after you've implemented workflow, give this powerful feature in GForge a try. Thank you for watching. To keep up to date on all GForge news, check out our blog at blog.gforgegroup.com. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at feedback@gforgegroup.com. And if we aren't already, let us manage a server for you, or you can download it for yourself at gforgegroup.com.